Hey guys, Tbull here. Today we're going to be continuing our look at the top tech tree ships at each tier. We'll be busting out the cruisers today. So we'll be going through tier by tier. I'll give you my top pick for the tech tree ships. Those are available for everyone. You can research them in the in the game without having to buy premiums. So this will hopefully help you decide what you want to unlock next or what kind of ships you want to focus on as you're pursuing your research. Of course, these are my opinions. This is subjective, so my playstyle might be a little bit different than yours, or maybe I got a different philosophy or an approach to the game. So if you got any disagreements with me, if you think I'm missing something kind of obvious, let me know in the comments. Interested to hear what you guys think are your top picks for these cruisers. Starting off at tier 3, not necessarily going to label the tier 3 cruisers the most menacing threat or group of ships in the game. Usually I don't play much tier 3 except for the weekly promotion order missions, and if I'm going to bust out a cruiser, it's usually going to be the Iwaki, which is a premium. But looking down the list of tech tree cruisers, I'd really give the nod to two of them. One of them is going to be surprised, the Duguay, which I think is one of the more fun ships to shoot at in the game. You can blow it up with pretty much anything from anywhere. So it's a very hard ship to deal with, and if you're playing against experienced players who know how much fun the Duguay is to shoot at, you're going to have trouble. That's why I give the nod to the Duguay, the tier 3 French cruiser. Still pretty solid, blistering offensive output. You've seen some of these AP shots in this game, and you can have quite a bit of fun with it that way. Not saying it's, a survivability king by any means, but it's got a little bit more ability to withstand some incoming fire than the Duguay, in my opinion. Some of the other cruisers, a little bit more durable, like the Svetlana, but that ship can't hit the broadside of a barn, in my experience. Kuma, Phoenix, just too easy to blow up. Carl, I don't know. The Carl's the Carl. The Gus is the Gus, so I don't know. I'm going Doogie. You guys let me know what you think for tier 3. Tier 4, the cruisers are still not the most durable bunch, but if you're angling well, at least you can protect yourself against cruisers, destroyer, incoming fire. Battleships, of course, will still blow you up. Offensively, though, the cruisers begin to become more interesting. The Omaha is pretty powerful. Furitaka, Emerald, the Emily, the Kirov, the Montecachole. All these ships have pretty good offensive attacks, but the king of offense at tier 4, and usually I think most people are going to agree with me on the tier 4 king, Konigsberg. In my opinion, pound for pound, one of the stronger ships in the game, comparing it to the other tier 4 ships that's going to see. Not, again, survivability is somewhat suspect, but really nice torpedo threats on these Germans. You got these nice torpedoes that can kind of defend yourself against anyone trying to push into you. And then just a blistering assault with the guns. Konigsberg's guns, quick hitting, quick firing, hard hitting, and you got great firing angles with the outstanding turret layout on the Konigsberg. So Konigsberg, one of the classics cruisers in the game. If you don't have the tier 4 German cruiser, definitely make your way up the tech tree for that one. Tier 5, you got some interesting choices here. You got the first radar cruise in the game, Budione. It doesn't necessarily have the best radar in the game, but you can catch some people off guard with that. A lot of players that play the Budione don't even know that you can set it up with radar. Go to the loadout and switch the plane to the radar, and once in a while you'll catch something. You'll get a nice situation to use that in. Dallas, pretty solid. Pensacola almost took my pick. The problem for me is I got Einstein, a Halloween commander. He affects heavy or just cruiser turret traverse in general. So I got the Einstein inspiration plus the ingenious perk on there. You got a double boost to the turret traverse, which makes the Pensacola go from excruciatingly horrible turret traverse to solid turret traverse and a very potent offensive threat. So if you got Einstein, I'd probably put Pensacola in the top slot. For me, though, I got Aoba on the list here. This is an all-around nice threat. You got good AP, solid HE rounds, not quite as punishing as like the tier 6, tier 7 Japanese HE shells, but still pretty solid. Good fire chance, nice long-range torpedoes, 10 kilometers. You can do a lot of zoning as you're kind of sailing around and pumping out shells. So Offensively, it's one of those cruisers that you kind of have to lean on the enemy team throughout the entirety of the game. But when you do, and when you're in good positions to continuously deal the damage throughout the battle, the Aoba can definitely have a major impact. So I like that one. You know, like I say, there's a few at tier 5. I don't think any of the tier 5 cruisers are head and shoulders above each other. The Trento can be kind of interesting. Nuremberg, similar idea to Konigsberg, but even more exposed in terms of durability issues. Laga, always an interesting pick. Leander, not too bad. You know, Leander's pretty solid. So a lot of you can go a lot of different directions with the tier 5, but I just ended up going with the Aoba. Tier 6, this is another one where there's some pretty decent cruisers mixed in here, but the Fiji to me, not only is it the top tier 6 cruiser in the game, and not only is it pound for pound like the Konigsberg, one of the best ships at the tier 6, you know, but it's arguably one of the best tech tree ships in the game. It could be the best if you really think about it. Offensively, blistering attack. It doesn't have the armor of the Edinburgh, the tier 7, of course, but it's facing tier 5, tier 6, and tier 7, as opposed to the legendary tier that the Edinburgh will run into. So if you factor in the competition that you're facing in the Fiji, which is, you know, a valid way to look at it, I'd say it's, you know, one of the most menacing threats in the game. Might not be the all-time easiest ship. You know, if you don't know how to utilize the smoke, you utilize terrain to keep yourself safe. You know, you don't have the armor to be protecting yourself. So you don't want to be sailing around in the open water, trying to dodge shots or whatever. You need to be focusing on not taking the shots in the first place. But if you can play the Fiji carefully and you can keep yourself in good, relevant positions throughout the match, well, you can just shred the enemy team, and they're going to have a hard time dealing with the Fiji. Other contenders, Myoko, that's another solid Japanese cruiser. One of my favorites to play. Really bad turret traverse, so you kind of have to have higher level commanders to mitigate that and work with the build. Zara, not bad. The AP is pretty good on that. Helena, again, it's a nice, solid contender. New Orleans, similar idea to the Pensacola tier 5. So I mean, those are all pretty solid ships. The Myoko to me is probably the closest competition to the Fiji, but the Fiji for me just head and shoulders above, and again, one of the best ships in the game. So definitely want to check into the Fiji if you don't have that one. Tier 7, I mean, you can go up and down this list, and I really don't have one that I don't like that much. I mean, the Chop I have to me is probably the weakest tier 7 cruiser. I don't love the Amalfi, but I see a role for it. You know, if you got a map where you can get into these sneaky positions early, using the concealment and the speed, that can be a problem. But other tier 7 cruisers, we got the Martel, we got the Hipper, we got the Edinburgh we talked a little bit about. That's still a solid ship. You got the option to slot a radar on there if you want. I typically run the Smoke, though. Baltimore, booming AP shells, you know, some of the nastiest cruiser AP in the game. You got Magami, probably my favorite ship in the game. Some of you guys probably are surprised I didn't put that one down there. But Cleveland is just such a menace. And I think they kind of already nerfed it. I think they tuned down the EOP perk, which you kind of have to use, the Norm Scott, or like the Russian cruiser guy has access to that as well. But you want to be dealing the raw damage with the HE, and then if your fire chance goes down a little bit, so be it. You're still going to get plenty of fires, but you want to be dealing the raw damage with all these shells they're going to be pumping out. And you can get 200, 300, 400 hits at Cleveland. Damage can pile up. You can really stop pushes into your base kind of single-handedly as long as you got some good spotting. You got to understand how to utilize islands and cover. You don't want to be sailing around in the open. You know, that's kind of when you're going to get melted pretty quickly with the Cleveland. But if you can utilize the cover, kind of like the Fiji, if you know how to play the cover well, Cleveland can be a massive problem. You got the radar, so you kind of get into these closer positions, utilizing the islands, making sure the booming threats on the enemy team can't hit you. Then you can wipe out the destroyers, you can cover caps, you can just rain fire down on the backline Bettys that are just watching you through the binoculars, and you're going to cause problems. Everyone's going to turn around and flee for the hills. So Cleveland definitely top dog. But like I say, you really can't go wrong with the tier 7 cruisers. Looking up and down the line, I mean, these are a lot of my favorite ships in the game. So I don't know. Cleveland, I think, is just overall the strongest, but you can make a case for a lot of them. So I'm interested to hear what you guys have to think on that. I'm not going to go into the legendaries yet, just because we only have a couple legendary cruisers at this point in time. Once that tier gets fleshed out more in the future, we'll probably kind of do an updated list and take a look at those. But anyway, like I said earlier, let me know what you guys are thinking for your picks. What did I get right? What did I get wrong? But if you like that video, please hit the thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing. We got lots of World of Warships coming all the time. Questions, comments, leave below. Love to hear from you guys. And we'll see y'all later. Peace.